the previous videos, we mentioned about the proposal defense. The purpose is to convince your supervisors and the examiner that your topic and approach are sound. Typically, postgraduate students will have their proposal defense in their second semesters of the postgraduate studies. The proposal defense is basically an assessment which a student can pass or fail the proposal defense. If the students pass the proposal defense, he may proceed with the research work as per what initially planned. Along the way, there may be some minor fine-tunings in terms of the executions of the research study. However, if a student fails the proposal defense, that means the students would fail his postgraduate studies before actually submitting his thesis and going through the vivas. Because of this, most of the students are quite concerned with the outcome of the proposal defense. One of the most commonly asked questions among the postgraduate students is that under what circumstances can one fail a proposal defense? The question may seem easy, but it covers a lot of aspects. In order to answer these questions, let me first sort out several related questions so that you have a better idea in terms of the mechanism of the proposal defense and how a student can fail a proposal defense. We're going to look into these questions before we discuss about the answer for the circumstances that fails a proposal defense. First, we need to know what is the purpose of a proposal defense. We mentioned it briefly previously regarding convincing your supervisor and the examiner regarding your research project. Let us talk about this in another perspective. You know that the proposal defense is a formal process. It is an assessment indeed. It is also a facilitation given by the higher learning institutions to the postgraduate students in order to assist them and guide the students during the postgraduate studies. The purpose here is to increase the chances of the students to pass the postgraduate study and also to complete the postgraduate studies on time. During the proposal defense, the postgraduate students will need to present their plannings for the postgraduate studies to a few examiners in order to acquire the third opinion other than the students themselves and the supervisors of the students. Normally, competent examiners are selected, and the examiners have some knowledge regarding the research topic. The examiner will evaluate the research program as proposed by the students. If there is any problem, the students will know it early so that actions can be taken before the research program is actually carried out. Imagine that if a student completes the research program, not knowing if there is any critical flaws in terms of the research design, time would have been wasted, and the worst case scenario is a student can fail the postgraduate study during the submissions of the thesis and also the viva presentations. To make it simple, the higher learning institutions has this proposal defense to assist and guide the students in order to increase their chances of passing and completing the postgraduate studies on time. Now, the ultimate purpose here for the proposal defense is to ensure that you have planned your research program properly, completely, and meeting the standards of the degree that you are pursuing. Now, let us talk about the second questions. Is it common for students to fail the proposal defense? The answer is It is possible for students to fail the proposal defense, but it is not common, at least based on my personal experience. Students can fail the proposal defense if there are critical flaws in the research design, or if the students do not know how to carry out the research. The quality of the research is not there, and the students has no idea about the research. However, it is not common for students to fail a proposal defense. The main reason about this is that there are usually proper supervisions given by the supervisors, and normally students look seriously about this proposal defense. Much effort has been put into the research planning under extensive guidance by the supervisors. The students have some ideas about how to carry out the research. Since we are talking about this, one may ask, is it guaranteed that a student pass a proposal defense will also pass the thesis and viva? The answer is no. You know that the proposal defense is by fundamental planning. When it comes to the executions, there may be other unforeseen circumstances. Therefore, a student pass a proposal defense normally have higher chances of passing the thesis and viva later. There is no guarantee that they will pass the viva and thesis later if they pass the proposal defense. However, if a student fails a proposal defense, there is high chance that the students will fail the thesis and viva later. Therefore, during the proposal defense, the students are being alarmed about the seriousness of this matter, and students are urged to immediately take actions in order to remedy the problem so that they have chances to pass in the thesis and viva later. Next, let us talk about the perspective as a proposal defense examiner. You need to know that the examiner assigned to you are normally those who have experience with the research, has the knowledge regarding your research topic. They are competent, trusted, and professionals. Their functions is to help you to identify the problem that you have overlooked during your research design. This is not an emotional task. They are trained to be objective and specific. Normally, it is not their first intentions to fail students, at least based on my personal experience and also among my colleagues. It is unless when something is critically wrong, the examiner will point them out. Yet, failing a postgraduate student during the proposal defense, it will be the last options that an examiner will take. It is unless the examiner is very sure that the students will fail his postgraduate study, then the examiner will fail the students during the proposal defense. You need to know the mechanisms of having this proposal defense. From the perspective of an examiner, failing a student requires strong justifications. It is more tedious, more effort will be required, and more costly for an examiner to fail a student in the proposal defense. Normally, it will end up with major corrections if there are still measures to rectify the research design. In the case when major corrections is suggested, normally the examiner will point out the problem and also give guidance to draw the attentions of the postgraduate students on how to rectify the research project. In fact, most of the examiners are not that mean as what students think about them. In fact, It is okay for you to open discussions and dialogue with the examiner, as long as you show intentions to learn, humble to take advice from the examiners. It is not only one-way discussions. You can always dialogue with your examiners, as long as your motive is pure, really have the intentions to make your research projects to be better. Now, knowing about all this, you have some brief ideas about the proposal defect. Let us talk about the next questions. What you should not do during the proposal defense. I heard some seniors advise their juniors that the students should hide some details from the examiners. They advise the juniors not to be too transparent to the examiner, so that the examiner cannot detect your problem and you will pass your proposal defense. This is not true, and you should never do that. We have established in the earlier on, the entire proposal defense here is a mechanism to facilitate the postgraduate study. The ultimate goal here is to help the students to increase the chances of passing the postgraduate study. It makes sure the students do the proper planning for their research and invite competent people to look into your research if there are any problems in your research design. The focus here is not pass and fail. The pass and fail the proposal defense, it would be the outcome. The more valuable thing, it would be the process. My personal advice to the postgraduate students is that you will take this advantage, seeking really valuable third opinions from the examiner, getting them to look into your research program. You welcome any comments given by the examiner, especially when they are able to highlight the areas that you have overlooked while designing your research program. This is good for your research. In fact, knowing the problems and the limitations of your current research design, you will know how to rectify them later. You don't want to proceed with the current problem, which at the end of your research study, during the submissions of your thesis and viva, only then that you realize that there are some critical flaws that you have overlooked. This, in the worst case scenario, may fail your entire postgraduate studies. Now, not only that you should not hide anything from the examiner, not only that you need to be transparent to the examiner, you will have to try your best to demonstrate to your examiner your entire research design. Make sure they understand from the head to tail, because you believe they are the competent people, they have experience, and they know about the research more than you do. Showing them your planning for your research, minimize their efforts in trying to play hide and seek with you in order to get the entire picture of your research program. Only then they will pay most of their efforts and attentions in finding the problems in your research. On this note, you will have to make your proposal defense report and also proposal defense presentations to be as easily understandable as possible. All the essential specifications and details should be disclosed, and you should also give the entire pictures in terms of your research planning. This is how you can make your proposal defense to be meaningful and beneficial to your research study. Now that we have covered all these questions, we are ready to answer the ultimate questions, the circumstances a person can fail a proposal defense. To make it simple, these are the three common conditions where a student can fail a proposal defense. It is when the research is not properly planned. It is when the students do not know what to do. And it is when there are critical flaws in the research design. This may seem to be a bit general, especially this, not knowing what to do. Based on my personal experience, many students may think that they know what to do, which at the end of the day, they only know what they want, but they do not actually know what to do. Most of the students knows about the scope as well as what they want to do, but they do not have the proper action plan. The details and the specifications are not being worked out, and the plannings are normally quite rough, not refined enough to every single stages of your research study. This is something an examiner do not want to see, especially the details part. The examiner would like to see your parameter studies. Let's say now you are doing the experiments. How many specimens involved? What are the specifications of the specimens? How would the result obtained from this specimen helps to answer your research questions? You will have to work out all these specifications one by one. In many cases, not having those properly outlined may bring concerns to the examiners, as the examiners has no idea whether you do have proper execution plans or not. Now let us talk about this in another perspective. Let us look at the diagram here. Let's say now you are a postgraduate student, master by research or PhD. This is the typical timeline. You start your postgraduate study. Somewhere in the middle, you will have your proposal defense. At the end of your research study, there will be thesis and viva presentations. If you pass the thesis and pass the viva, you will pass your postgraduate study. Now your current state here is you are doing this proposal defense. Whichever happens before the proposal defense, that has already been worked out. Now anything after the proposal defense, that will be your future. All this has not been realized yet. Now the purpose of having this proposal defense is for you to have all this to be properly worked out. Although your current stage is this, and this part it will be your future. As far as your proposal defense is concerned, we see this entire thing as a whole. You will have to have this properly planned out. Now let me give you a more critical scenario. Let's say now you have your proposal defense passed. That means your proposal defense are well constructed. You know what to do, and there are no critical flaws in your research design, and the examiner agrees that you will have high chance of passing the thesis and viva later. However, the day after the proposal defense, you lost your memory. You cannot recall what happened previously. You cannot recall what you have designed for your research. All these memories are totally lost. Now, if your proposal defense is good enough, the documents that you submit for the proposal defense, which there will be proposal defense report and also the proposal defense presentation slides. These two documents will serve as the step-by-step guidance to you for you to proceed with your research project, even though you lost your memory here. Now, if you find yourself that you cannot totally replicate your entire research as what you had planned by only going through your research proposal report and also the proposal defense presentation slides, that means your proposal defense is not good enough. If you look from this perspective, you will have an idea in terms of the amounts of details as well as the execution plans that you need to disclose during the proposal defense. With that, I hope this can answer your inquiry regarding how to produce a good proposal defense.